It is commonly believed that psychiatric disorder is in some way related to the heightened tempo of our life in the modern world. This is not so. The Yoruba of Nigeria are still an agricultural people. They live close to nature, their feet still know the soil. The assembly line has not yet divided a man from his creation, and the full fruit of his labour grows under his hand. Life is a leisurely affair. Family ties are strong. There is a rich fabric of social intercourse. And yet, mental illness is common. Indeed, a recent study suggests that the rate of disorder is roughly the same among the rural Yoruba as it is among the New Yorkers of Manhattan. Western psychiatry is a very recent introduction. Before 1940, there was not a single psychiatrist in the country. Today, in the Western region, there are 2, with some 400 hospital beds. The population is 6 million. What then happens to the others? The answer is not far to seek. The countryside is dotted with native healers and their treatment centres. Many are devoted to the healing of psychiatric disorders. The talking drums play the oriki of Chief Jimo Adetona of Okun-Owa. Chief Adetona is one of these specialists in the management of mental illness. His treatment techniques have been handed down from father to son for 5 generations or more. Behind the house is the treatment compound housing 30 or 40 patients. Some are accompanied by their mothers or their wives, so that the patient's link with his family is never completely broken. A herb garden flourishes in the middle of the compound. Patients wear ankle shackles until they can be trusted not to abscond. This patient is accompanied by her daughter. She is a chronic patient at the centre, and her daughter was born there. She suffers episodes of acute excitement with intervals of normalcy between. Her illness is due to the violation of a taboo. She once tore the clothes of an Egun, a masquerader representing the ancestors. Ajeophile, Croton amabilis, is a common shade tree in treatment centres. As the Yoruba name indicates, witch birds will never perch in this tree. Bomu bomu, Calotropis africana, is used as a protection against Shopono, the smallpox god who is a common cause of mental illness. Abeokuta, the town under the rocks, is an important centre for native medicine. Mr. Fagbemi of Abeokuta can accommodate 10 patients in his treatment centre, and others may be given quarters in his house. Episodes of excitement are common. The doctor and his assistants must be skilled in the handling of shackles and manacles. Fagbemi himself holds a magical device used to bind up excited patients. He shouts, catch him," and the patient is powerless. A sleeping potion is then administered. Soon after admission, the head of the patient is often plastered with a mixture of palm oil, pap, shea butter and banana. This soothes the patient's head. Next, a shampoo of cooling leaves squeezed in water is used to wash off the oily mixture, and his overheated brain is cooled. Finally, a series of small razor cuts is made over the vertex of the skull in the form of a cross. Medicine applied to the cuts enters the blood, destroys the toxic agents causing the madness, and expels them in the feces and urine. Herbs, minerals and animal parts are used extensively in treatment. These may be ground on a stone, pounded in a mortar, or incinerated to a black powder in a pot. Cured patients may return to the treatment centre for follow-up treatment as outpatients. On the other hand, the patient may be instructed to prepare his own remedies. Every market has its medicine stall where all manner of magical and herbal supplies may be obtained. The most important physiologically active plant used is Asophaegae Rauwolfia vomitoria. The root of this tree contains a powerful tranquilizing drug only recently introduced into the West from the indigenous medicine of India. Yoruba healers have used it for centuries. Incantation should be recited over the tree to ensure its potency. The first Madman in the world was changed into the Rauwolfia tree, and since that time, if the tree spirit is called upon using its real name, it will cure any kind of madness.
Ìbà ṣẹ̀dá, ìbà ṣẹ̀dá, ìbà ṣẹ̀dá, ìbà ṣẹ̀dá. Ìbà ọ̀nṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí fojú kọ́málẹ̀. Ìbà ọ̀nṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí fojú kọ́málẹ̀. Ìbà ọ̀nṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí fojú kọ́málẹ̀. Ọlọ́jọ́ ìní ìbà rẹ, ọlọ́jọ́ ìní ìbà rẹ, ọlọ́jọ́ ìní ìbà rẹ, ọlọ́jọ́ ìní ìbà rẹ. Ilẹ̀ ìbà rẹ, ilẹ̀ ìbà rẹ, ilẹ̀ ìbà rẹ, ọ̀gẹ́rẹ́ agbẹ́mọkọ́lọ́mọ tó gbé. Bá mi ìbà rẹ, bá mi ìbà rẹ, bá mi ìbà rẹ. Wọ́n ní kálá, ìkálẹ̀ kó oògùn, ìpópó olípópó, má já àlólóóló.
The magical use of esoteric words and names is a common feature of Yoruba healing. Here, a functional headache is treated by incantation. If the illness is unusual or fails to respond to the usual treatment, the healer must delve more deeply into the cause. Have the witches a hand in it? Has some spirit been offended or taboo broken? Has some rival called and damaged the patient's soul? Divination provides the answer. The most widespread form of divination is called Ifa. 16 palm nuts are used, and depending upon how many nuts remain in the hand of the diviner, a configuration of marks is made in the wood dust on the divining board. Each configuration refers the diviner to a specific portion of an enormous body of oral poetry and song. The portion so selected refers to the hidden causes of the patient's particular illness. It also indicates the sacrifice or other ritual required to heal it. Another form of divination is called Agbigba. Whether the mahogany seed pods fall upwards or downwards determines the configurations here, and a more restricted body of oral literature is used for interpretation. When the supernatural origins of the illness have been determined through divination, a sacrifice may be necessary to propitiate the offended deity or to pay off the malignant spirit or witch. Goats, sheep and fowl are the common sacrificial animals. A good deal of ritual surrounds the sacrifice. Much of it concerns the passing of the patient's disease or bad luck to the head of the sacrificial animal, which becomes a scapegoat. The death of the animal is a substitute for the death of the patient. The sacrifice is placed by the riverside, or at the crossroads, or before the altar of some deity, as directed by the oracle. In Yoruba traditional religion, a host of family gods called orishas provide protection, prosperity and fertility to their worshippers. Mental illness may be caused by the orisha of a man who has failed to worship him. For healing, the oracle may direct that the patient must become initiated into the cult of the orisha and take part in the annual festival. The cults which feature possession are generally for women. Male cults are commonly masquerade cults. This is the annual festival of the Egun cult for women. Members of the cult become possessed by one of a family of spirits related to the orisha. The possessing spirit is often opposite in character to the patient. For example, a quiet and retiring woman will be mounted by a wild and reckless orisha. This annual possession seems to provide some continuous defense against psychiatric illness. This girl is possessed by the spirit of the sanitary inspector. If she does not annually express this male spirit, she develops an agitated psychosis. One of the bystanders becomes possessed unexpectedly and is borne off to the shrine. Gelede is a colourful masquerade cult for men. It protects its members from the witches, and impotence is one of the common motives for joining. In the dance, the men masquerade as women in a kind of institutionalised transvestitism. They wear bullet-like breasts, some appear pregnant, and some carry wooden images of children on their backs. It is probable that the cathartic effect of these masquerade and possession dances may help preserve a healthy balance in the patient's personality. As in the West, Yoruba illnesses show a marked tendency to relapse. Mr. Famario of Ife performs an ancient river ritual to prevent the recurrence of a psychosis. The head is shaved and the patient is washed using a medicated soap pressed against the breast of a dove. second dove is decapitated, the blood is spattered over the patient's head and she is again washed. An incantation is recited. Just as the river never flows backwards, so the illness will never return. The body of the dove is flung downstream. Incisions are made over the scalp, as in the former ritual. The dove is the symbol of peace, and its blood, mingled with that of the patient, brings peace and contentment. The patient's white wrapper is loosed into the stream and bears away the illness. He who picks up the cloth, or the doves, will contract the illness. There has been some contact between the Yoruba world and the Near East since ancient times. From the east and from the north, caravans crossed the Sahara bearing cloth, manufactured goods and salt, which were exchanged for ivory, gold and slaves. Legend tells of a Yoruba queen who became the wife of King Solomon, and her grave near Ijebode is revered to this day. More recently, the religion of Islam has made a considerable penetration into the Yoruba world. Islamic divination and healing practices have also been introduced. Islamic divination employs a tray of sand as a divining board, and the configurations on the sand are identical to those of traditional Yoruba Ifa divination. A book of Islamic homilies replaces the Ifa oral literature. The relation between Ifa and Islamic divination systems is obscure and ancient. Sand divination, using the same configurations, is spread over many parts of North Africa and is also found in Madagascar. Throughout many parts of the Islamic world, minor psychiatric illnesses are healed through the words of the Quran. A relevant passage of the Quran is written upon a board. The words are washed into a cup and mixed with leaves or sugar. The patient drinks the mixture.
Alhamdulillah, الذي أحدث أوليائه بما شاء من النعم ورفع منزلتهم وقدم عليهم الخير والفضل والإحسان والكرم وهدانا ببركته ونفعنا بدعوته والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا الأنام.
Christianity was introduced into Yoruba land in the early 19th century. Christianity, too, has brought with it a retinue of healing techniques. Most colourful of these are those of the prayer healers, who teach that all disease results from sin. Here, Samson Teller of Ibadan treats psychotics with consecrated oil and water. Holy Spirit is urged with considerable vigour to heal the patient. Should all efforts fail, the patient's family loses interest in him and he is finally abandoned to the world. He is a common sight on the roads or in the village markets, wrapped in his mantle of solitude, inhabiting who can say what impossible worlds.